Hello, in today's video, I won't be planting vegetables or doing any gardening, but I will be doing something that a backyard farmer must be doing. And today, we're talking about quails. Alright, so before I begin, I'd like to put out a disclaimer that the tips I'll be giving you today are just an introduction on how you can start breeding quails. If you want to consider breeding quails commercially, you would want to hire a consultant who is specialized in breeding quails on a large scale. But even though that's the case, you could still learn some bits and pieces that you could use to expand your quail breeding. Okay, so let's get started. Quails exist in varieties. There are Californian quails, bob-white quails, gumbo quails, but today we will be talking about Japanese Coturnix quails. Well, actually, in this channel, it will always be about Japanese Coturnix quails. Okay, so when considering quail species to raise, size, egg production, and temperament should lead your decision making. You know, sometimes I just sit around and look at my quails play. Some species may be kept in conveys, perfect for larger scale production, while others just need an open space. And guess what? You don't need large space to start your quail farming. You could do it right in your backyard in urban areas. Just make sure it's okay with your neighbors and okay with the laws. Do quails lay eggs? Yes, they do lay eggs, tiny little eggs, and can be speckled or solid white. They also allow diversified farm operations. Coturnix quail are easy to raise. They are used as meat birds and as training and hunting birds. They are fully grown at 6 weeks old and they begin to lay eggs at that point. Their eggs will take about 17 to 18 days to hatch. Now, for domesticated quails, they do not brood their eggs, meaning they don't sit on their eggs, so you might want to use an incubator. And quails do fly. At 10 weeks old, they make very good flight birds. So how do you know if your quail is female or male? Well, the female have speckled chest feathers. Well, I guess women are always decorated. And they are quiet in nature. I don't want to say much about that. But also the female quails lay eggs, while the male have a plain brown chest feather, loud call or crow at maturity, and they are vent sexed. They produce a whitish foam. Okay, let's call a spade a spade. There's this guy who's been on the market for a very long time. You know the guy who attends the parties around the world? You guessed right, Mr. Chicken. So you must be asking, why quails over chicken? Well, let's do a brief comparison. I'm not going to be technical about this. Let's keep it short and simple, shall we? So chickens require more breeding space of about 4 square feet, while quails only require 1 square feet. Chickens have lower protein levels while quails have higher protein levels. Chickens compared to quails are quiet while the quails are noisy birds. Chickens are more costly to breed and quails are less costly to breed. Chickens have larger eggs while quails have smaller eggs. But well, if these reasons are not just enough, here are a few more reasons why you need to keep quails. They are easy to keep and have very tasty meat and quails. They can lay eggs daily for 270 days. That's like 9 months consistently and can be a profitable business. Now that you have a reason why you should breed quails, let's talk about the $1,000,000 question. How much money do I need to start? Well, there is no definite answer to that. It depends on what number of quails you want to raise, but I suggest if you breed quails for business, start with a minimum of 200 birds, but your aim should be to keep stable numbers of about 1,000 birds if you want to see big profits in your sales. But in Zambia, it costs about 15 kwacha. Right now, as I'm speaking, in 2021, on the 27th of March, it will cost you about 15 kwacha to raise one bird. You can divide that by whatever currency you are using, and you will have the exact amount of money you will need to raise your quails. Another question would be, well, if I get the quails, what will I feed them? So quails have a special formulated feed to suit their high protein intake, which is higher than that of chickens. But quails still do well on chicken feed. They are game birds, so they also enjoy organic food like worms and veggies. Another question would be, what are the chances of my quails dying during breeding? Well, it depends on how you take care of them. I have noticed that quails usually die from the cold or due to drowning if they accidentally fall into the drinkers. Compared to the bigger birds, Mr. Chicken, they are hardly vulnerable to diseases, but it's important to track diseases as soon as possible. Also, most deaths are recorded at chick stage for the reasons I gave before. So, what about the famous jumbo quails? Are they any different? No, they are not. They are just selected quails which are bigger than the other ones that have been, selected to breed with one another over a longer period of time. So, they are producing bigger birds. That's why they're called jumbo. You are advised actually to breed your bigger quails with each other so that you could have bigger productions of quail size. Where do I house my quails? Yes, where are you going to keep your quails? I prefer keeping my quails in an open space, which is a pottery, not outside, but an enclosed space because quails do fly, but also they can be protected from bad weather, rodents, and also, those predators that might harm them. So keep them safe. Quails can be kept in cages or poultry houses. Both have their advantages or disadvantages. You can create even a small space in your backyard to house them. Just ensure they are in a well enclosed space. Quails can fly and don't get along with the cold, like I said. Do quails drink water? Yes, they actually need more water than they need food because it helps them with digestion. Now, let us look at what items you need to start. You will need fully grown quails, eggs or chicks, food, housing and water, lighting and heating, immune boosters, feeders and drinkers, sawdust for the floor, and an incubator. The most important decision you'll have to make is how you're going to start your project. Are you going to purchase adult quails, eggs, or chicks? You could choose to buy a male and a female, especially a female that is on laying stage, eggs, which you are going to incubate, or chicks at different stages, whether it's 1 to 5 day old or 7 weeks old. Another decision is what you're going to feed your birds. You may decide to buy already formulated feed by well-known feed suppliers or make your own feed. Just make sure it has all the necessities that your quails need to grow healthy. You can also provide a substitute with organic food if you have any inconsistent supply. Another thing to consider is housing. Are you going to keep your quails in cages or in a poultry house? And do you have a good source of water because your quails will need to drink water? Another thing on the list is lighting and heating. The quails will need lighting to see where they are walking and the food they are eating, and also they will need the lighting for mating. They will also need heat. So do use bulbs that are specially formulated to produce light. I preferably use 100-watt bulbs, and I also add on the braziers which give them good amount of heat. You will also need an immune booster. I use poultry tonic for my quails from day 1 to day 7. I also use it when I am changing the type of feed I'm giving them, or when I'm changing the sawdust in the poultry, or when I have just collected new stock from my supplier. So which cup and which plate are you going to use? Let's talk about feeders and drinkers. While there are special types of feeders and drinkers to suit the size of your quails, you can also use the larger feeders and drinkers. Just make sure that you add pebbles in the drinkers to avoid drowning. You could also do that in the smaller drinkers, especially when the quails are at chick stage. Please avoid using trays for feeders because your quails will peck and will scatter the feed around everywhere, and it's going to be costly for you. You will also need to provide your birds with a comfortable floor to step on and to sleep on. I preferably use sawdust. Please do not use sawdust from redwood. Research has it that redwood is harmful for their respiratory systems. Stick to pine wood. And just like you change your bed sheets, that is if you do, ensure that you change the sawdust too over time because manure collects and it is not healthy for your quails. Many people bring in complaints, usually due to dirty sawdust that has collected in their poultry over a long time. Another thing you will need is an incubator. That is if you're planning to keep the cycle from adult stage to chick stage. You will have to purchase one, or you can rent one, or simply just take it to someone who has an incubator. Usually people charge prices to have your eggs hatched. Unlike chicken eggs which require 21 days to hatch, quail eggs require 17 to 18 days. Last but not the least, vaccinations and medications. This does not apply always, but do consult with your local veterinary services on what you can use if your quails are infected with a virus or a bacteria. So if you enjoyed watching this video and you'd love to receive more tips on how to breed quails, then don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. I would also love to hear from you. I want to know if you're planning on breeding quails or you have already started. How is it going? Tell me in the comments below. I wish you all the best and see you at the top.